message. To the top, ragamuffin keeps striving in every way. International, what they call me international. When me ride palm rhythm and I move, but the rhythm and I come down crucial. And me ride palm rhythm and then we sit down steady. For the men on the place, I with the one Jamalski. We are the general. We sit up on the rhythm and over the mic incredible. I'll be right by the rhythm, move by the rhythm, I sit down steady. Every ragamuffin you do, I feel rock and follow me. You know you love her for your life. Hey. Jump up on the rhythm, make we ride it right. We chat up on the mic and keep it international. Cause anytime we chop a mic, they call we give it a general. International, what they call we international. When me ride palm rhythm and I move by the rhythm and I come down crucial. And me ride palm rhythm and then we sit down steady. For the men on the place, I with the one Jamalski.
Yo, what is up, everybody? Joshua Casper with Plug-in Boutique, and I'm joined by KSHMR once again. Round two, buddy. How you doing?
Hey, man, I'm doing great. And I'm just always happy to be doing a stream with Plug-in Boutique, man. It's my favorite.
It's my favorite, too. You're my favorite guest.
Aww. Really?
Yeah, of course.
Oh, thanks, man.
I think we look similar when I grow my beard out. I think we look quite similar, so that's why.
Yeah, I could see that, definitely. Oh, man, God, you look amazing. Look at that camera. You look absolutely fantastic.
Which camera are you looking at?
I'm looking at the one on YouTube right now. And it looks fantastic. And I have started using my iPhone as my camera since you recommended it. Yeah.
Is that what you're using right now?
Yeah. It doesn't look as good as yours, but looks okay.
It looks great.
It's all right.
And the lights behind the couch, those throw lights behind the couch, sets it off.
Little throw lights behind the couch.
Gotta have them.
And gotta have them, man.
So welcome to round two. You've been quite busy since you were here last. What have you been getting into, either with the career or with the plugins or and everything else in between?
Yeah. So with my career, you're going to see this a lot in the chat, especially from my Indian fans. But I went out to India to record a hip-hop album out there. So I've been working to finish that up. And one cool random thing that came about is this artist who was coming up when I went to India by the name of MC Stan. He was like had a really big cult following. He went on to this big reality show out there called Big Boss. And I think it was the first that a lot of people saw a street kid exposed on such a national level. And not only did he do well and was well received, but he won the whole show. Like the biggest Bollywood star, Salman Khan, gave him the award. To take a kid from the streets, from the slums like that, to get on India's biggest TV show and then win the whole competition was just incredible. And then he performed on the day that he won our song on live TV, which was just such a huge boost for the album too. I was just like, I woke up to all these messages and like, he just debuted your song, blah, blah. So that was really, really cool. And I'm excited about that. And then on my own, man, I've just been, honestly, recently working on like, I guess like deeper house ethnic vibes and just fun, like housey stuff that maybe reflects me getting a bit older and not as much of like a big room guy as I used to be. Not that there's not going to be some of that in my future, but it's been fun to go a bit deeper, as my friend Dylan Francis would say.
Oh, love Dylan. We got to get Dylan on the live streams.
Yeah. He would love to, I'm sure, man. He would love to.
That's pretty wild about the broadcast in India. Do you know how many people tuned in? It must be massive. If it's the biggest program there.
I'm sure it was in the tens of millions. And to put it in perspective, Dan's profile now, he'll do a live stream on Instagram and get over 500,000 people watching a live stream, which is just nuts.
Yeah, that's
it's like
insane.
unfathomable. It's unfathomable numbers. Yeah. He is like, and he's the coolest guy. Like, he is just completely himself. And yeah, I don't know. It's amazing to see. I'm just really happy for him.
Awesome. That's a feel good story. Great way to start the stream.
Yeah.
Speaking of the stream, what do you got lined up today?
So today I wanted to start out with a little trick that I was already planning to make a tutorial about, but I figured today was good as day as any to kind of preview that for people. It's something that I've been using when I'm making beats to get melodies inspired. It's basically a form of vocal chopping, but it gives you some cooler options while you're vocal chopping. And then I wanted to take a song of mine and basically remix it live with the chat here. So that's my game plan.
All right.
Can you see my screen here?
Yep. We're just going to flip over to it right now, and we can jump right in.
Cool. I guess before I jump into it, maybe I'll just look one last time if there's any questions or anything that people had before I just, because once I start producing, I like get in a zone, you know.
We can see. Your YouTube. We can see you looking at yourself on your YouTube right now. It's impressive.
Okay. It's chat inception. So yeah, you guys can see exactly who I'm looking at. Slap house, please. I'm gonna try to avoid slap house. Let's see. Do you have any advices to help with arrangement? You know what? There's one easy advice for arrangement. Pull in another song that you like and just copy the arrangement. Nobody has a copyright on arrangement. Just literally do the arrangement that they did with your melodies, with your song. Still studying mastering. Do you also have any advices to use a hard clipper with a limiter? So it depends on the kind of music. I often use invisible limiter. Just that's kind of my general all-purpose. But for hip-hop, because I got so deep into like making hip-hop for this album, I just go with this clipper from the guys who make T-Rax. They're not, yeah, I guess they're just called T-Rax. It is it's just called their clipper, classic clipper. And I find that I like the sound of this. It's almost as if you're just like driving the volume into Ableton past 0. It gives you that effect as opposed to the smoother limiting of something like Invisible Limiter. When I want my drums to just knock and sound aggressive and sort of ignorant, I'll use classic clipper. That's been my favorite go-to. All right. Unless you see any questions that you think are worth answering.
I see a lot of red flags over there. What's happening with that?
Yeah. Jai Shri Ram. Yeah. No, it's just he's just spamming.
We gotta ban him. Where's Omar? Is he logged in?
What is your tips for music getting recognized and music getting signed? That one. That's just a big question. Yeah, that's a big question. I'm sorry. I mean, just keep sending your music to people over and over again will work when the music is good. But your music being good is a question that's hard to objectively answer as yourself, being the one making it. Okay, guys, I'm just gonna dive in. Let's just dive in. I'm seeing. Well, you know what? I only looked at the Cashmere one. Let's look at the Plugin Boutique one. Greetings from the UK. Do you remember the first stream?
So
Oh, cool.
I'll be fed any questions in the Plugin Boutique one, and I
Yeah.
can ask those
Okay.
for them.
Okay.
Yeah.
Just ask me as they come up. All right, so guys, this is the trick that I want to show you. We're going to start with a sample that comes from the Sounds of Kashmir pack. If you guys don't have it, they're available at dharmaworldwide.com, and there's tons of vocals. There's like, if I were to look at just the vocals in here, let's see, so like a gigabyte just of the vocal section. So we took this one from the Indian vocal loops, and I chopped up a bunch of different vowels. So if you don't know what a vowel is, it's just like la versus o versus oo versus a. These are so those are all doom, 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 doom. And then a ta, right? And these are all slightly different notes. So you can either by ear figure out which notes they are. Me personally, I'd probably, because I have a terrible ear, I drag it into Melodyne. And look, we got a C, we got an E flat, E flat, E flat, we've got a G flat, C, C, right? So once you know what all of those are, you load them into a sampler, and I've already done this to make life easier. So we have a sampler, or in this case, a simpler, because a simpler allows you to preserve the warping of it. So I'll just show you how we would start with one. We take this in here, we drag it into simpler, and we say, okay, we just want this guy. And if we remember from Melodyne, what was our first note? Our first note was a C, and that's good. When you load a sample in, you want it to be C, so when you play a C, you get a C out of it. And then we would group, and we're going to move here. First, let's go to this, warp, put on Complex Pro for now, and then we're going to duplicate it, and then we're going to do the next one. Just roughly pull up the next one, and we see here that that was an E flat. So because it's an E flat, we want it to be a C. So to get to a C, we just have to go down 1, 2, 3. And now both of these notes are going to be playing a C, but they're different samples. So you're going to get a little bit of a different feel when you hit that one here. Let me solo this. That's the same note as this, but it's a slightly different sample. So now you're playing the same note, but you're getting a little bit of variation. And now what we want to do is go down here to controls, look at velocity to volume. We don't want the velocity to control the volume. We're going to put that to 0%. What we want to do is make the velocity control which sample it decides to use. So we click here on velocity, and now we distribute the ranges equally. And now depending how hard we hit it, we're going to get a different sample. So we're getting two different samples there. And if you keep following that logic, you'll eventually wind up with one that has a bunch of them, which I have here. And I've made them all equal a C note. So if it was doing the F sharp, we took it down 6 so that it was still a C. Now they're all going to hit a C when you press C, but they're distributed across the velocity equally. So depending on how hard I hit it, let's hit it. I'm getting different vowels. So now instead of doing a vocal chop melody that's just like doom, 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 I can get doom, ta, doom, ta, doom, ta. And that sounds like this. And if I had just done one of the vowels, and if it was all the same, it would just sound like this. Here, let's just put them all at one. Right? But instead, we get this nice natural way of singing like a person would sing, not just singing the exact same word every time. They're singing different words. And that's the thing about, like, sometimes when we sing a melody in our head, it works because we're like doom da doom da doo da doom. But then when you go to play it with a synth, The synth is not changing vowels. The synth essentially has one vowel or one sound that it's doing, and it's going to play your whole melody with that same sound. And that's what's so fun about the human voice is you can really make a melody cooler by changing the vowel happening in each note. It makes it more dynamic and more fun to play with. So what I do when I'm writing the melody is I put on this little headphone toggle, and I'm like, I do like a na there, or as I'm holding command, and then I'm dragging up and down. I have all these different vowels that I could play with. So not only do I get to decide what note it is, but I get to decide what vowel the singer is singing for that one. And it's important to turn off the velocity, like I mentioned, so that the velocity is not affecting the volume. Because what you don't want is for this to be way quieter than this, just because the velocity is higher. So we're basically stealing velocity as a measure of volume, and we're changing it to a sample selection tool. So cool.
That's a great tip there.
Yeah.
It's almost like a round robin on velocity that you have full control
Exactly.
over. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly. So yeah, hopefully that was my first tip I wanted to share with you guys. Is their head exploding right now? I can't.
My
see
head
them.
is. I mean, I can't even.
Okay.
I can't even process what just happened. Do you also want to touch on I think you've got some glide on there. Do you want to talk about that as just for someone who might not know?
Yeah, sure. So up here, she's doing na na, and that is a little bit of a bend. And when you do bends, if you're using this method, you do have to make sure that it's the same sample. So the velocity of these two notes has to be identical, because if not, then you are using two different simplers, because that higher velocity one is actually activating a whole different sampler over here. And the sampler only knows how to glide, within itself. It doesn't know how to hook up with a different sampler entirely and do the glide. So yeah, the glide basically is just you take two notes, and when this note overlaps this one, it's going to bend up to it instead of re-triggering the note. It is halfway through the sample going to bend it up, almost as if you're using the pitch bend on your keyboard. Glide is, a super, super cool way to also kind of accomplish something human. Like humans often don't just hit a note like da, 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 da. They kind of bend like da, 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 da. There's bending there, which makes melodies sound natural, especially with the human voice.
Great tips.
Cool, man. Yeah, thank you.
So, I mean, when you actually produce quite a lot with sort of these vocal chops and vocal chop melodies, are you doing the bulk of that work right inside of just Simpler Sampler and Ableton Live? Or is there another sampler that you also like to use?
No. Yeah. I pretty much exclusively use Simpler and Sampler. Honestly, I can't even think. I mean, there's things like Nexus, which I might use, but if you're just talking about like my own sample and cutting it up like this, this is how I would do it every time. I guess while we're on the topic of vocal chops, I could just like kind of show you what the other ways are common that people would vocal chop. A super common one is to take this, say slice into a new track, and either do something like quarter notes or maybe transients. And I don't know what the difference between warp marker and I guess it's just if you've set your transients manually. So you get something like this. And what you've got here is now each transient being separated. And you see guys like Kygo do this a lot. And if we put this down here with our, we'll just like delete all this stuff. And I'll play this drum beat. And I'll put a little bit of reverb. Let's just go with the KSHMR reverb, which I'm obviously very excited about, guys. So yeah,
new
happy
release,
to talk
right?
about that today. Yeah, that is the new release, KSHMR reverb. And one of my favorite parts of it is you can just switch to reverb volume. So your dry signal is at full volume, and you just add a little bit of reverb, which is typically what you want. So yeah. So then you've got on your keyboard. So now you've got like all these things that you basically chops that you can play on your keyboard. And, you know, similarly to how we stole the velocity from changing volume, we've now stolen these different notes from changing the pitch. They're really just playing a step in the sequence of your sample. So like this is the third step and this is the fourth step, not changing the pitch whatsoever. Is that's how you know you'll always stay in key with the original sample. You know, so you get something like that. Yeah. Okay, cool. Hopefully that was helpful. That's another way that people vocal chop quite a bit. You see guys like Kygo do that in his process. Skrillex do that in his process. That's pretty common. All right. If there's nothing left on that, I was going to go to what
questions.
Yeah.
All right, let's knock these out. Before we do that, though, Kashmir, if you don't mind, I think we're going to give away some plugins on today's stream. How does that sound?
That sounds amazing. Let's do that. Absolutely.
I think three is a good number. You've got 3 plugins out now. So let's do 3 winners, and each winner will get all 3 of your plugins. How's that sound?
Okay, that sounds perfect. All
right, no matter where you're watching and listening, you're going to have to be active in the Plugin Boutique YouTube chat. Unfortunately, that's the only way we can choose a winner. We're going to choose 3 random people. You just have to be active in the chat and positive, and we're going to choose 3 people to win all 3 of Kashmir's plugins, which we're going to go through today. So if you don't know those, you will in a minute. And questions. Would you recommend using white noise to get mix levels?
So, yeah, I understand what they're talking about. I've heard pink noise.
Yeah, pink noise I think is a more natural frequency curve.
Yeah, I honestly don't do that. I find that comparing it to your track to other tracks, and especially doing like a band pass on other tracks, like soloing the low end, soloing the mid, solo the high, I find that super helpful. Sometimes I'll even put like an EQ on my master, something like this, that I'll toggle on and off to basically emulate like a shittier speaker system, because your ears start playing tricks on you over time. One trick that happens to me over time is I keep on wanting to add high frequencies. So that's probably just fatigue going on. And when you limit it to just these frequencies, you should still get, like a picture of your song that works. And you almost get more clarity on these frequencies by cutting out the other ones. And you can turn that off and on, and you're essentially saying like, okay, well, on a really small pair of earbuds, or just coming out of like a little phone, maybe someone's playing it on, does this still connect? And especially with hip hop, things like your 808 being present even when you have this going on, like you're completely filtered down to just that mid-range, you should still be able to hear some of your bass. And depending on your system, you might be hearing so much sub that you think your bass has presence in that area when it really doesn't. So I do things like this, and I do things like comparing it to other tracks. But I don't do the noise comparison as much.
Yeah. You kind of touch on another great tip for mixing, and that is like, first, mix at a decent volume. Don't go too loud. That's going to throw things off. And also walk away, like put it on ice and come back 3 days later and see what you hear, as opposed to like trying to get it all done and rushing through it, because getting back and getting the full picture is definitely helpful, coming back with fresh ears. What do you think about that tip?
Yeah, absolutely. Like when I'm working at my best is when I set like an hour and a half to work on this, and then I shift. And even if I'm in a grind, I'll still shift and then come back, because I know, the way that people hear music is not the 1,000th time they've listened to it, and you want to put yourself in the shoes of a listener that's listening to it for the first time, the first impression. You start to have a warped perception of your music when you get to the 500th listen of, especially if
Yeah.
it's like the same loop.
Yeah.
You want to be in harmony as much as you can with the listener, and the way they're listening to it is like, the first time, the first impression. So you want to emulate that the best you can, I think.
Absolutely. Another question is, do you have any advice if you're trying to transcribe by ear in a DAW?
Yeah, transcribe by ear.
Yeah.
Like if you hear something and you want to figure out what the notes are,
Yep. I think
take
that's
it.
what they're at. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Take it from someone who has really bad pitch. I mean, it was so embarrassing. Like I was trying to tune a guitar and a note would be off and I like wouldn't know if it was sharp or flat. And like finally I'm at a point where I can do that. But my ear is still really, really bad considering how long I've been making music. So what I would do is I would probably warp it so that it's a lot slower. And then I would like play on the piano roll until the notes are sounding right to me. And if I'm really struggling, I might even throw it in Melodyne. And I know for some of you that's cost prohibitive, but Melodyne does have a fairly decent polyphonic interpretation it can do, and it can help you find those notes and give you a picture, especially of the chords. It's very good at giving you a picture of the chords. So yeah, and then if if it's a well-known song, one of my favorite websites is called Hook Theory. And Hook Theory is a place, it's like a database of tabs that you can check out. And of course, it's not loading right now. Here, resources and Theory tab database. And you go on here and let's say Creep by Radiohead, which is one of my favorite chord progressions. And look, you get to see. Okay, it's just we want to see the melody also. Yeah.
I'm not hearing it. Are you hearing it?
Oh, you know what? It's because I'm only streaming my Ableton. But
Okay.
anyway, guys, you don't need to hear it. Like the point is, it will show you the melody, and it will also show you the chords. But instead of just telling you the chords, it tells you the chords how they relate to the key that you're in. So we're in the key of G, and we do this B major, which is out of scale. Because in G, you get a B minor, but it's even letting you know why this works. It's telling you that it's the 5 of the 6 chord. And if you know a little something about music theory, the 5 chord is the most natural way to get to any chord, right? You do the 5 of it. And we want to get to our 6 chord. Okay, now it gets more complicated because we actually go to the 4 chord, and the 4 is like a substitute for your 6 chord. And now I didn't want to get into a whole music theory class, but anyway, the 5 of the 6 usually lends itself to going to a 6. But in cases like this song, and also Imagine by John Lennon, he goes to the 4 chord, and there are reasons that the 4 chord and the 6 chord are quite similar because they're only different by one note. But it's one of my favorite, and this is what's beautiful. Not only does he go to his 4 chord, but he does this thing called the plagal cadence, where he does the 4 as a minor, which brings you back to the G because of this thing called negative harmony, where instead of a 5 chord, if you put it through this sort of translator of negative harmony, you actually get a minor 4 chord, and they function in a very similar way, getting you back to the 1. And this thing here, if you have time, just check out why a minor 4 chord goes into your 1. It's one of the most beautiful, emotionally jerking things that you could do in terms of chords. So yeah, that's a little music theory for you. Figure out why 5 chords go into 6 chords and why minor 4 chords go into your 1 chord. That was a lot in a short time. Anyway, Hook Theory helps you learn it, helps you see why it works.
I would also say if you're talking about transcribing vocal chops, a cool thing to do in Ableton if you have the tuner, which comes in Ableton, I forget which version of Ableton, but if you just loop the vocal chop and you make a sort of a pitch with it and run it through the tuner, that sometimes will give you what note it's on as well.
Yes. Also, you can just interpret it by doing convert melody to new MIDI track. And also another selfless promotion, you've got Mixed in Key Live, which is my collaboration with Mixed in Key, where if you just click on listen, it will listen to your computer audio and you can play anything through it, polyphonic or monophonic, and it'll tell you the note of it. Okay, that's it. I'm done with my plug.
That's what the stream's all about. Don't worry about it. Someone else is wondering, Klaus Peterson is wondering, how do you typically start a song if there is a typical method, if it's with the drums, the bass, or what have you?
Yeah, good question. So I usually, drums to me sometimes are inspiring enough to want to build around, but it's usually something more melodic that I'll get excited to build around. It'll be a bass line or an instrument. The nice thing now about the internet is if you're not feeling inspired, you can just go through Loop Masters. You could go through, what's that other one that starts with the S? I forget its name.
That's Loop Masters backwards.
Oh, right.
Yep.
And you can find instant inspiration, and I do that all the time. And in fact, I make my own sort of libraries of samples where these are like my favorite samples of the moment. I'll go through them. I've picked out my favorites. Sometimes I'll just spend the day picking out my favorite samples. And if I'm ever in a bind, I'm not feeling inspired, I'll just go through these. I can't stress enough how important it is to allow yourself a day to just collect samples and organize them in a way that's going to be very intuitive and easy for you to access later. So when you are in a creative process, you're just pulling for inspiration so easily. Like it's just, it's right there for you. You're not wasting time searching, getting derailed.
I think another great tip along the same lines as collecting samples is a sound design day, like where you're just going to get into a synth and make leads or bass patches. Not only is that going to help you figure out how to work the synth better, but again, it's just like a sample. You'll have your presets ready and you're like, oh, I remember I made that lead. It sounds epic. It's going to be perfect for this. And it's already done for you. So don't think you have to get in and go in with the mindset of like, I'm going to make the next hit today. It's just getting into the playground, which is your DAW, and spending time there is going to do nothing but help you later on.
Yeah, exactly. Like, I mean, it's kind of like an important lesson of life that like you take a day to do something that'll help you in the future and you're just forever grateful that you took that one day. It could be just like organizing your samples, or it could be, I don't know, there's stuff we put off, but if you just do it, like it might suck for one day, but then you'll have months of being happy and grateful that you did it. So it's a lesson I'm always learning.
Well, the Plug-in Boutique live streams, we don't just do music production here. We do life lessons. I think that was a valuable one. Another great question from Jordan Keats is, what is the best vocal chain for vocal chops by the vocal chop master, Kashmir?
The best vocal chain for vocal chops?
Yeah, I'm assuming it's got to be a little bit different. More reverb, for example, something.
Yeah. So right off the bat, let's see. We started on this vocal chop, and the chain that I would go for, listen, got Ableton Reverb. We're not doing Ableton Reverb today. We're doing Kashmir Reverb. And you typically with vocal chops, you just want to add reverb and a whole ton of compression. Of course, it depends on the song, but that compression is nice to make every note really click and pop, because you're pulling from like the middle of sentences sometimes, like the middle of a vowel. And if you want that click, which, with the synth, there's a very consistent transient to each note that you hit. That compression is going to help you make every note sound more deliberate, if that makes sense. Like if you take a sample where sometimes it's starting at the beginning of a note, sometimes it's in the middle of the note, you get a lot of fluctuations in the volume, and a lot of compression helps you make it clicky and make it stand out, and each note won't get lost. And we can even play with this. So right now I'm just adding a little bit of reverse so it kind of swells in between each one. We're going to turn the reverb down a little bit and then just... Yeah, so there's that, and then I would probably just make it a bit brighter. It depends on the track, but... And I would probably go for a little bit of echo. I really like Echo Boy, but if you don't, want to pay money for an echo, you could get pretty close with something like this. Just thinking about what kind of echo you want. You get really fun rhythms if you go to dotted. For you guys that never had to read sheet music, dotted basically just means that you take that value and then you add 1/2 of itself onto it. So if it is an eighth note typically looks like this, and then another half would be this. So the dotted just means that your echo from a sound here is going to land here. If you didn't have the dotted, it would just land there. So this is a normal eighth, and then this is a dotted eighth. It's just like 150% of itself. So
we've lost you.
Oh.
No, you're back now.
I'm back now. Oh, it's the damn...
Oh, I can't
Does that
hear
sound...
Can't even
you
hear
can't hear it now?
No, yeah.
Okay. Yeah, dude, it's my freaking driver. Okay. You can't hear Ableton now? It's no good?
Nope.
Okay. Here, I'll just stop this and do it one more time. Boom, boom.
It's back.
It's back. Okay.
I can hear the tail.
And I would probably put this after the reverb. Yeah, so I mean, it's kind of hard to say like one preset that would always work on vocal chops, but it's usually you can go crazy with the OTT and you can EQ it and everything else.
Yeah, you said a lot of compression, and I think you've got at least 3 compressors on there. I see.
Yeah, so I put my money where my mouth is.
Can you slide over to the right on that chain where you put the Echo Boy, or the Echo rather? Okay, yeah. I mean, I saw you do this, and it looks like it was just second nature for you by now, but can you explain why you put it in a rack and added a chain? Is that a different form of dry-wet that you find works better?
Exactly. Exactly. Here, can I, before I answer that, can you hide my screen just 1 second? I need to check something personal. Is that okay?
Yeah, we're on this.
Right.
You're good.
Okay, cool.
While he's checking something personal, we're going to be giving away some copies of all 3 of his plugins to 3 lucky people. If you want to get involved with that giveaway, you got to go over to the Plugin Boutique YouTube channel where we're streaming live right now if you're somewhere else, and just be active in the chat. That could be questions for Kashmir, questions for me, or just all around positive vibes. That's all you got to do to enter. We're going to choose 3 lucky people at the end and announce those and get you some Kashmir plugins.
Sweet. Okay, cool.
You good?
I'm back. Sorry, I just had to check my calendar. I'm getting LASIK today, guys. Pretty big deal for me. I had to look at my calendar just to confirm what time it was. But we're all good. Yeah, we're good.
Nice,
My appointment's at 1:30 and it's 12:10 now, so we have easily an hour. It's right around the corner. Okay. So yes, explaining what this is. So yeah, let's just say you just had the echo by itself, just applied it. You could do 50%. But now, of course, you're losing 50% of your original volume and half of it's being given to the wet signal. They do have this new thing called equal loudness, where you shouldn't be losing any of that volume. And that's cool. But the reason that I like to take this, and here, I'll just show you from scratch. I hit Command G to group it. And now I can create another parallel chain where this has no effect on it. So this is just our original signal. And then the echo is just the echo. and I get to control the volume of the echo independently. And the other cool thing is I can put other effects just on this chain. So that wouldn't have been possible if we weren't doing it in parallel this way. So like, let's just say we want like this flanger on it. You could just do anything to that echo and that echo alone because you have a new parallel channel.
Yep.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
So yeah.
I just saw you do it. It was so clearly second nature. That's just what you do every time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I do it so much, and it's so annoying that I just implemented it into KSHMR Reverb. Like instead of just having a mix, we just have this mode called reverb volume, and now you're not touching the dry volume, you're just affecting the reverb volume. Because that was, yeah. Cool. Any other questions?
Oh, we got lots of questions.
Or should I move on to the?
I think we should keep
Here, I'll just pull it up
keep moving so you don't miss your LASIK.
Sure.
I want you to see, KSHMR. I want you to see.
Yeah. I know, no more glasses. It's gonna be weird.
I, as a glasses wearer, hate wearing glasses.
Yeah.
I do videos a lot, and I always catch the glare in the glasses, and it just looks.
Oh yeah, the worst.
Yeah.
You ever do contacts?
So my eyes are so warped. Well, I mean, this was back in the day. This was years ago when I got it checked. They're like, yeah, the contacts would just fall off your face because the shape of my eye is so whacked. But I mean, advances in technology and stuff. I should probably check it out.
Yeah, maybe it's worth checking out now. They can do anything. I mean, they're literally about to cut my eye open.
Yeah. I'll let you do it first, and you hit me up and let me know how it goes. All right.
I'll let you know how it goes. So, all right, guys, this is a track that I always loved that I did with my friend Neil, and it sounds like this. One more round.
We go down to this God-forsaken town. We come together.
And there were a lot of vocals to start with, so I used KSHMR chain. Here we have the leader, and I just decided what processing I liked on this first one. This is here without it. We come together when the light. And this is with it. Down to this so you just got some Pro Q. We've got some Pro C. And you can see that this is in parallel. So in KSHMR chain, you can actually expand it and decide how much dry and how much wet you want. We have some RVox, just doing a little bit of compression. Some equality. Why I use 2 EQs, I don't know, guys. There's no rhyme or reason. Something in my head tells me equality sounds nice on high end. This is a de-esser just catching a little bit. And instead of duplicating that chain to every other track, because as you see, he's got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, there's like quite a lot. I just put a follower on those, and the followers absorb that same vocal chain, which makes life way easy. And if I decide, oops.
My man's got to use the one downside of using the iPhone for. Yeah. I'm not sure who called me, but who cares? I'm streaming, guys. It's more important. Do you want to, dude? If you want to check, man, you can flip it around and look.
Should I check? All right, I'm gonna flip it. I'll just check briefly. Let's see. Yeah, it was probably spam. I don't know. I'll call him back. All right, let me get back into camo.
All right.
All right. Is that how am I looking? I'm back good?
Yep, you're back.
All right, cool. All right, guys. So that is how I quickly make all these vocals sound better, and just to show you the sum effect of it all. And here's it without. Down to this God
godforsaken town. We come together when the lights go down.
So yeah, really quickly got his vocal sounding good. Then I put Kashmir reverb on top of it. I used this little effect called Clean Hall. And that thing I was telling you about where I'd like group it and I would make another channel, you don't have to do that with Kashmir reverb. You just go to reverb volume mode. And for a vocal, I wouldn't really do any of these. Like maybe you could do a little bit of the full duck. So if we do it at 20%, that means when the volume of his vocal goes above the ducking threshold, we're going to get about a 20% reduction.
Down to this godforsaken town. We come to.
When you do it that subtly, you don't really notice it, and you don't get this like off-on clicking kind of thing between when the ducking activates. And I think that sounds nice.
Down to this godforsaken town. We come together when the lights go down. Always up for another round.
Maybe just creates a little bit more space for him. But anyway, this is the old version of the track. And I thought it would be fun for us to basically like remix it and maybe do like a future rave kind of feel or something. And I've got a couple options. So I'm going to play them and then hopefully the chat can tell me which they liked. I've got some chords together here. And here, let me just do like a little setup before he comes in of just repeating the same chord. Let's see what the chat likes.
We go down to this godforsaken town. We come together when the lights go down. Always up for another round. We come together when the lights go down. We come together when the lights go down. We come together when the lights go.
That's like, you know, very basic synths and stuff, but that was one vibe. And then here's another vibe.
Always up for another round. We come together when the lights go down.
So that one would be a lot more intense.
If I can vote, I like that second one.
Yeah, you like the second one?
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Is the chat feeling the same way?
We can run a poll if you want.
Well, nah, you know what? If you seem pretty firm.
I mean, I'm
Feel
pretty
like
confident in
Yeah.
yeah.
Cool.
And if we don't do what I want to do, I'll just stop the stream anyway. So it's probably
Yeah,
best.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah, we should just we don't want to rock the boat. All right, so in that case, I will just. It's hard for me to want to kill my babies, so I'm just gonna like put this over here, and
Non-linear.
then we'll. Huh?
I said non-linear. It's the beauty.
What?
Copy and paste.
What's nonlinear? What do you mean?
You can copy and paste it to some random place in the timeline.
Oh yeah. One thing that I just found out that was a mind blower for me is you can just select a region, like you could just even select that, and then Command Shift D will duplicate while creating space for you, and that was a big one for me. Like if I'm just like, well, I want to try a different version, alternate, you know.
What do you mean create space? Oh, like it will just push everything past it forward.
It inserts time as well.
Nice.
Cool. Yeah, super useful. All right.
My friend, by the way, Killian, who's watching the chat, says it's quite split between 1 and 2. So.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Well, let's listen to this one. Yeah, I mean, like, the other one's probably more exciting to build around. This is, like, more emotional, and the other one is more badass. That's very Porter at the end. Okay, so we'll go with the other one, because if it's split, then somebody needs to decide, and you decided.
It's
So
my
there you
job.
have it. Yeah. All right. And you know what? Just to make life easy, let's just make another one, and I'll call this 2, and then we'll just delete the stuff that we didn't use. So it's not clogging up the space. That we never used this. No, we never used that. Never used that, and that's not getting used.
Down to this God-forsaken town. We come together when the lights go down. Always up for another round.
And these chords, I really love this song "On My Knees" by Rufus Du Sol, and I wanted to. They do this cool like Phrygian thing. Phrygian, the main signature of Phrygian is when you have your root note. So in this case, it's E, and you do the note above it, which would be F. But we kind of trick you by making it sound like B because that's our leading note. That's a part of E, but we are kind of riding on the B as the leading note, and then the chord right before it changes is this C. So you get that Phrygian of like a 1 semitone up going back into your root note, which creates a cool dark kind of vibe. So yeah, if you guys haven't heard that song, "On My Knees" by Rufus Du Sol is super cool chord progression and just super cool song in general. That was inspiration. Okay, now we gotta think about how to get into this drop.
I'm getting some clicking, like a quick audio
clicking?
dropouts or something.
Really?
Chat, let me know if you're getting that too. Yeah, I mean, that's what I'm hearing. It could be just me, though. Yeah, like that time it's more or less good there. It's weird.
Okay. So we want to figure out how to get into a pretty different section here. And the way that we do that, I would probably go to Sounds of Kashmir. I would go to reverse, either reverse synths or reverse vocals. We know that we're in E, and a B would get us there nicely, or an E, of course, would get us there nicely. So this is A sharp, so I put up one, a B, and B. It was too intense. But probably stick. Don't love that one. That one's kind of interesting.
We come together when the lights go down. We come together when the lights go down.
That sounded better. Creating more space there. Like, if ever I have two sections that are like too different from one another, a little bit of silence goes a long way. Like letting that vocal, just like everything drops out and you just hear that vocal. And we'll kind of accentuate it by doing a little bit of a sweep here. Let's just sweep up and then short sweeps. These are too crazy. Maybe this one, and we'll just control it with filters so that it never gets too white noisy, because I think white noisiness would be out of the world of this. So I have a built-in filter on all of my audio tracks. It's right here. If you guys are curious about how I do this, I just group, and I put an EQ in this group, and I create a macro, which isn't that exciting on its own, but I have it turn on and off. The filter only turns on when you go past the minimum value. So if you're at like nothing, like no high pass, this filter isn't even activated. And the reason for that is that I notice if the filter is activated at all, it creates like a volume boost. Like you'll go from peaking at 0 to clipping. And I just didn't like the idea that it was affecting the sound in any way. So I created this macro that basically turns the EQ off completely when the low pass is all the way up or the high pass is all the way down. Does that make sense? Kind of? Yeah.
Yeah.
Anywho. Yeah, cool. So now I'm filtering this. just high pass also because it's fairly deep. Cool. And then maybe just like a really low, deep impact. And for that, I would probably also go to, you guessed it, Sounds of Kashmir. I mean, this is a humongous, exhaustive library that has so much. Yeah, see, like that's beautiful. Love that one. We don't even really need. Sorry. Yeah, did you have a question there? I heard you breathing.
Oh, sorry. I was just kidding. I mean, that explosion. I mean, it was just, it was nice. It was real nice.
And then you can decide if you want to. And then we have Kashmir reverb on this guy. We could also play with different plucks. Like this was just the first one that I found. But yeah, no breathing, by the way.
Yeah, I'm sorry. That is my mistake. It's.
I just realized how like weird and mean that sounded. Like I heard you breathing, man. Keep it down. And just to show you guys what tonal reset would do, tonal reset would take that reverse and make it only be the last note. So it would be like a one note reverb as opposed to a combination. Do you hear the difference? Like versus. It's like only one note. I don't know. I don't know if the difference comes through.
Are you freezing? Are you freezing a portion? I missed what you were doing there. It was behind.
I was just hitting. Oh, okay. I was just hitting tonal reset. Like tonal reset, what it's doing is like the reversed feature, which is creating the slope up between this note and this note. Mm-hmm. It's imagine like it's basically a volume that is doing. It's like a volume doing this kind of thing before each note on the reverb.
Right.
If you hit tonal reset, you're only getting the reverb of this note. But if you don't hit tonal reset, you're getting all three of these notes. So you get like, yeah, you'll get a thicker, like, there's just more tones in it basically because you're getting three notes versus that one. So yeah, just again to show you, it would be the differences as opposed. You hear how it's like way more deepness to the reverb.
Yeah, one's stacking and one isn't. Like what's the reset? Is it using MIDI to decide when to capture the?
It's using transients. Yeah. So like every new transient makes the reverb algorithm reset. Like it cuts off the decay from everything that came before the transient.
That's a cool feature.
So yeah, it's cool. It's like if you're doing it for chords or something, it can be really fun to hear like, oh, that's just the reverb of that chord each time. Like it never crosses over. But okay, I won't get stuck on it. And I probably go into, let's do Kashmir Essentials.
Kashmir, Klaus Peterson's wondering if you only use your own samples when you're producing, or do you go to Loop Masters quite often?
No, I definitely have a lot of stuff from Loop Masters, especially if you go into that library that I was telling you about. There's so much stuff in here that I got from Loop Masters, and let me see if I could find it. I've kind of organized it so you're losing a little bit of like the pack names. But if you trace back, so many of these are from Loop Masters. I've just organized them. These are not my samples. These are just, a database I put together of my favorite samples. But I would say that 80% of the time I am using Kashmir stuff, like especially the non-melodic stuff. Some of the melodic stuff for me, I'm like, I made it, I recorded it, it's not as exciting. But when you're talking about like utility-driven things, like an impact, sweeps, I knew exactly what I wanted and I made them. So it's like, why would I, go out there? And I organized it so well. Like not to pat myself on the back, but like it's hard to be like, oh, I want a drum. Oh, I want a transition. Oh, I want a cymbal transition. Or I want a chime transition. And like, or a shaker transition. And I have 10 options here, cymbal. Like, there's just not a lot of packs that even aspire to be that comprehensive. And I do it not just for you guys, but for me too. So it's like, all right, I don't have to go around looking for shit. So 80% of the time, I would say, yeah, I'm using my own stuff. All right, so let's just go to synths in KSHMR Essentials. And if we want it to be really crazy, we could put it after the reverb. And this thing called details, what it really does is it slams your signal, like a ton of compression, and then it introduces that as a parallel signal. So everything that was quiet is like this new parallel signal that's going to be added on top of your original, and it's going to bring the reverb up a lot. And I know everyone will be like, oh, it's just louder. It's not actually better. So I'm trying to auto gain it myself. But I think that is probably similar in volume and does sound brighter and, well, it's not better. It's just brighter. As opposed. Yeah, let's rock with that. And we got our vocal over here. And let's even, if we're on the KSHMR Essentials train right now, let's just add it again. Here, I'll just copy and paste this one. And let's do vocals, and let's just see if we can get any improvements with that. We come together when the lights go down, always up for another round. We come together when the lights go down, to this God-forsaken town. We come together when the lights go down, always up for another round. To this God-forsaken town. We come together when the I don't know. Is that getting too bright? It's a little hard for me to tell. I don't mix on headphones all that much. But
It's right now. It's just the one, or is that all the vocals?
I put that on the whole stack.
Okay. I think it
so
is. It's losing a little bit of the body. I'd say like the
the body of it.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Let's just.
Down to this God-forsaken town. We come together when the lights go down. Always up for another round. We come together when the lights go down.
Yeah. So, here I have this Reese bass going. Another option that we could do is I'll just try both because I'm not really sure which is going to sound better. I'll put this on a ARP and then I'm going to change the just the shape of it a bit like this. And we can turn down some of the bend. And then we can put this down an octave. And that way you're not really hearing it. It's almost just creating like this rumble. And I think that sounds cool. I'm on headphones again, so like you guys tell me. Just a cool little rumble.
I'm on headphones and I can hear it. It sounds great.
Yeah.
It definitely starts to fill out the low end, which was missing.
Yeah. And then something I like to do for stuff like this where like you're going to do the same thing for a while, and that's cool. Like we're happy with that. But we want there to be this kind of like constant momentum up. and not to make it cheesy, but we want something to be rising, like some kind of movement. And this is a trick that's worked for me a lot over the years. I'll take a string sound, and I just pitch bend it. And there's something about strings that sound nice pitch bending to me. They don't sound like strings at all. That one, too stringy. Kind of hard to tell, but I think that's cool. And go speed all the way up. And one nice thing about Nexus is you can, here, just put in E. I know I want a riser. I don't know if this is the answer, if this is the riser, but we'll see. And in Nexus, you can grab the pitch bend right here, which I like, because I don't love going into Ableton's MIDI pitch automation. You're just not a big fan of that. And start low. Start lower. Okay, let's we just add a ton of reverb to it. It's kind of hard for me to tell. Maybe strings aren't the best. I guess the reason I like strings is because they sound like less EDM-y, and it's like doesn't immediately turn you off like, oh, it's just like a corny EDM riser. I don't know if it's the best choice now, but let's like just kind of keep it trucking.
Always up for another round. We come together when the lights go down.
And I'm not crazy about these guys kind of like leaking into it, so I'm just going to take a utility and I'm just going to mute them right there and copy that to this guy. Mute it right there. And all right, and you guys can see that so we're changing there's a when it comes to the reverse here, there's like a give and a pull by the fade and duck and the reverse. So the fade and duck, if we were to visualize it, every time we're getting a new transient, it is going down, right? Like this. And it's probably even happening really fast between these guys. It's doing something like that. And then it's going to come up and it just goes to 0. That's what it would do normally. And then when you add the reverse is saying, well, hey, we don't want to just go back to 0. We actually want you to go up and keep rising up into it. And then here, this curve, the way that you're changing this curve to make it the curve that you want is here in the release of the ducking effect and the attack of the reverse effect. And by playing with both of those, that's how you get the derp to derp, I'm a derp. All right. That's how you get something like this, which is what you want. You want it to be like a smooth release from the duck and then attack of the reverse, which is really just an upward slope. So let's turn this utility off. And I think we've got something pleasant. And then I think an echo here would be cool. We'll have to do it after the KSHMR reverb. The reason that we do that is because KSHMR reverb is looking at our transients to decide when to duck and make certain decisions. And if we do an echo before it goes into KSHMR reverb, we're giving it all these new transients. And it's just, it's going to confuse the hell out of it. Yeah. So probably do something like this, and I would maybe go into glue compressor, and I'm just going to do a side chain. That's side chaining to itself, so it gets out of the way a little bit, and it's not delaying over itself. So that sounds pretty nice, and yeah, again, I encourage you guys to play with the dotted if you never do. Cool.
We come together when the lights go down.
And that's something that we could even, might be cool to automate up as we're going to increase the intensity. So it's like, at first it doesn't have delay. And then
What happens next, man?
Yeah, you're right. I should keep going.
Burn. No. I meant like
Yeah.
I'm waiting for the drop every time you get there. I'm like, oh, what's gonna
Yeah,
happen?
I know.
Quick question. DJ Nielsen's
Yeah.
wondering if you mostly use reverb or Kashmir reverb as an insert or a send effect.
I usually use it as an insert. Kashmir reverb is so awesome because of all the effects that it has. So it's like, it's intended to be a reverb that like provides you with a lot of cool effects, usually for a lead sound, like a lead sound that you want to have like this ducking and everything. And for me, that's always been an insert. Like it's hard for me to imagine, like having a reverb on a send for my lead, because it's like really mostly like I'm going to make a lot of decisions very specific to that lead that don't necessarily to apply to other elements in my track. But use it as a send. I've never been a send guy, and I know it's not good for my CPU or like consistency in the sound of my reverb everywhere. But yeah, I use it often as an insert, but you can absolutely, of course, use it as a send. So in my head, I heard something like this. Something like some kind of like filter comes over it. Maybe I put it before the reverb. Put this on here.
If you end up releasing this remix, do I get a producer credit?
Yeah,
I feel like I've helped you
man.
enough to,
Yeah, absolutely you do, dude. Absolutely you do. So it's like some kind of like psych out, like we didn't drop kind of thing, and I don't want to spend too much time trying to make this sound cool, but maybe I filtered too much there, and yeah. All right, now we can come in with a kick and all that good stuff. Here, let's go to KSHMR. Go to.
How much time would you say on a normal track are you spending looking for the right kick?
Oh, that's funny. Usually at first I'll try to find one that just like works so I don't get disrupted in my workflow. Like I'll try to find one that's just like kind of working. And then later in the mixing process, there's usually a point where I'm like, all right, let's make sure that this is really the right kick for it. and then I'll spend, I might spend a couple hours just like making different kick options, bouncing them out, and then like doing a blind test, like a blind shootout kind of thing. So I was gonna do audio, but the truth is, like, if I'm trying to find the right one, audio is a really annoying way to do that because you're gonna lay a bunch of kicks out and then be like, oh, I'm not sure if that was the right one, but it's too much to copy and paste another kick a bunch of times.
Do you want me to give you a workaround for that? Just throw it in
yeah.
as simpler, put the MIDI in, set it right, and then you just have to change the one.
No. Yeah. That's what I'm saying. That's what the alternative is like I'm gonna do that with drum rack right now. I guess simpler would maybe be even better. But
they're the same thing.
Yeah. Right. But I guess I was just saying, like, sometimes when I'm lazy, like literally just avoiding like one step, I'll just put audio in. Okay. So that thing is echoing way too much. We need to turn that off. And we're just gonna go like, oh wait, no, there's no kick there. That's stupid. Kick goes there. So this is our like little fake out section. And then we'll cut that right there. And let's just see if we can make just 2 bars for starters, not suck. Or wait, we do have chords changing, so we kind of need more than that. We need twice that length. All right. Okay, that is all that delay coming back up. We'll just get rid of that. And delay can be a fun thing to play with. Like we can play with that, like going up here, here, like kind of rising up. Like let's just see what it sounds like when you kind of, like all of a sudden. See, it kind of creates a little rap sounds, in there. It's kind of cool. All right. Don't know if this is the right kick. Recently, I've been liking kicks that have less of a crazy transient on them. And I did make a folder of those called simple kicks here. And let's just try one of these also. And I want to go into my friends of Freer who just released his pack on Dharma and to see if there's anything from there that maybe that's too soft. Maybe this one. I mean, we're in E. This says F. I don't know. Does it really matter? Let's see. For you guys who are like, I get this question a lot, like, does it matter what key it's in? If you look at it in Melodyne, you can see exactly what's happening with the pitch. Where pitches get, like, where they conflict, where they rub, is if this kick were to really settle at that F. It gets to the F. It doesn't really settle there long enough for it to clash with anything else. That's like your sub bass. Like this maybe, you could argue maybe. I mean, is it even really landing at an E? It's kind of above it, but it doesn't matter. It's not something to get hung up on. So let's go with the Cleggy one for now. It did sound a little better to me. And then let's do a little sub bass. Let's go to Serum. I'm just speeding here, so.
What time is your LASIK? I don't want to have you miss that.
No, it's cool. Yeah, no, it's fine. It's at 1:30, and we're at 12:50 now, and it's like a 10-minute drive. So somebody's picking me up. I'm all good.
Beautiful.
And even if I'm not all good, like, what are they gonna do? Not give me LASIK?
Oh, they're giving you LASIK. If I need to come out there.
Oh, they're giving me LASIK.
Echo Soundworks.
Let's see. Yeah. We want want something more subtle, I think. I think we're just alternating between E and A. Yeah. So let's just keep it simple. Boom. Maybe boom, boom. I think I do I do G to G, yeah, G to a B, or we could just do the F sharp. Let's make this bass not suck. So you guys, people seem to really like kickstart. Kickstart's a good option here. I hate not being able to control it. Here, I'm just gonna do LFO tool. Guys, this is something that I set up for myself, and I encourage you guys to do too. It is just a little MIDI thing with multiple outs that I send to my sidechain. So what I've done here is I've gone to instruments. I've done an external instrument. I drag that in. I group it. I make a bunch of duplicates. And now this is going to send this MIDI track to wherever I want. This MIDI track is real simple, just a 4/4. It's like a kick pattern. And I'm going to send that to, in this case, Serum and LFO tool. And that's just going to make sure that it always stays perfectly on the grid. And in LFO tool, just kick on note retrig. And now it'll always be perfectly on the grid when it's sidechained. And now I want the release to be a little bit longer. And if we listen to like one of Guetta's tracks, we could get some inspo. I don't have, damn it, I don't have, here, let's see if I have anything by Guetta. Kind of see, compare. That's cool. It almost sounds like he has like a little white noise thing that's like going along with it. And this bass, you know, it could be cooler. Honestly, I'd probably put some distortion on it and stuff. Here. Let's just quickly make this bass cooler because I don't want to leave you guys with some crappy bass and everyone's like, KSHMR fell off. That sub bass, that shit was weak. Let's go. Let's see what else. Here, bass drop. Let's see. These are all weird octaves. I wonder if that sounds insane. So we could kind of right, and what we're gonna do is, again, don't hold anything against me, guys. I'm just going real fast. I'm gonna put some distortion on this, and I'm going to cut the lows, of course. But I do want to put the distortion on before I cut the lows, because I do generally like how distortion reacts to low end. So okay, that may be too much cutting off. We don't need to do that. Yeah, Thermal is another good distortion plugin.
Really
good. Yeah, I really love this one. All right, let's try that. We're just going to leave that rocking. I'm going to try to do that. We probably want a little bit of sidechain on this guy. And maybe instead of having him be in this whole group, because I don't know what's in there and what should be sidechain and what shouldn't be sidechain, let's just put him down here. And we'll call this leads. And we're going to put another LFO tool on leads. And we are going to automate it so that it only comes on here, this part. And we're going to need to send this MIDI out. That's why we created so many, to leads. And now he'll be chilling, but he'll have too much sidechain. So we can do a little less. And actually, I don't even love that bass, guys. I suck.
You're too hard on yourself, bro.
All right, and now, thanks, man. Yeah, you know what? Maybe it's not so bad. Now that you say it like that, it's actually, you know. All right, let's do a little white noise, guys. Let's just have some fun with some white noise. And this is hilarious. I'm using Kashmir. To find just white noise, which is, or here, I think I just called it noise. And here we have some great noise options, because I couldn't synthesize it.
Operator's got a really easy. Oh.
Yeah, I know. I should have just done operator, but here, let's pull this in here. And we'll just create like a little. And let's listen to what he did again. Did I pull that track in?
I think you
did I
deleted
delete
it.
that track?
Yeah.
Yeah. That's okay. We'll just have to be original for a change. Here, and just put a little echo on it. And here I am doing this thing again.
There it is.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. And then we can even maybe change the slope at different times. Oops, I did it wrong. You know what? Why change the slope? Why not just change the decay? I was trying to be cute. All right. Something like that. I could have even changed the release, honestly. That would have been
I think it's
smarter,
pretty
but-
great that the
What'd you
white
say, bro?
noise just set it off. I think that's pretty
Yeah.
sweet. Yeah.
Yeah, that was pretty sweet.
Thanks, David.
And yeah, dude, you crushed that, man. Yeah, thank you, David. So let's listen back to here. Let me just make sure this part's sensible. I'll just do like one classic trick, which I'm sure you've heard a bazillion times, where I'm going to blah, 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 blah. I'll take this. Oh, good. Okay, so I'm going to resample, and I'm going to, yeah, just do this. All right, and then we will. Oh, that was filtered. Okay, that was filtered. All right, we'll just take this. We just want a clean first note, guys. That's what we want. And luckily, there's a shit ton of reverb on that already, which is kind of cool. There was that delay, which we did not want, but that's cool. All right, we're gonna take this. All right, and we'll just apply our own. Let's just go to KSHMR reverb here, put it on. We're gonna put all the effects off. We're going to just make it a big, loud reverb. And yeah, that should be pretty good. And we're going to save because sometimes freezing messes my computer up. I don't know why. All right. Now we're going to take that. Oh, I didn't reverse it, did I? It almost doesn't matter. Honestly, it almost really just doesn't matter. All right, here we go. All right, now we've got that thing. For you guys who don't know what I just did, I just printed it and then I reversed it. And now we've got a reverse reverb. And now we're going to go like this on that ad. All right, here we go. And then maybe if we want to be extra cool, we could just mute this thing right here. Like. All right, so that was a real quick version. Let's just listen to what we got. Maybe we put something on the master. I don't know. Let's just be dumb. Let's just put this. I do not recommend this. Is a really, really bad habit, guys. I'm just gonna put multiband compression on the master. Do not do that, but it does make things sound good sometimes. All right.
We go down to this God-forsaken town. We come together when the lights go down. Always up for another round. We come together when the lights go down.
Cool. Hey, we did that, man. That was sick.
That was truly impressive to see happen in such a quick amount of time. And I'm really impressed with the white noise and how big of a difference it makes.
Yeah, it really did. Yeah, totally, man. And then what's so fun about that is like I found this a lot in writing melodies. Like you want your melody to be interesting over time, but the thing we overlook a lot is having like a supporting element that's basically doing the melody, but gives you like freedom to like open the release on it and create these evolutions that never really convolute your main melody. They're just sort of adding like little emphasis to it, you know, which is a big help because, you know, you've got this and you're like, I do like this, but can this last for like 8-16 bars? But with just something like that, it can. It really makes it work.
100%.
Yeah.
All right.
Cool.
Well, that was it really was impressive to see happen. And if I'm really excited to be co-producer on that remix with you.
Yeah, man, absolutely. Absolutely.
But you've got 3 plugins out now. Is there a 4th on the way?
So yeah, I mean, there's definitely one that I've just kind of brainstormed up that I'm gonna start the development on, and I don't want to share too much about it because that gives people other ideas, to do something similar. But yeah, I am very excited. Hey, before I have to do one, like I want to plug everything, but I just want to do one last plug. There's my good friend. This guy is the most talented guy in the world. He plays every instrument. He's just like insane. His name is Afreer, and he just put out a sound pack with us on Dharma, and it's called Kashmir Presents Afreer's World Sounds. And there's like so many like amazing instruments from all around the world. One of his crazy abilities is to get people together to sing like crowd chants,
Oh,
and
nice.
like he'll get like some like African dudes together, and he'll get like some like Celtic stuff and like some like yodelers together, and it's just crazy like he's got so many amazing melodies and stuff that he's played. Anyway, that pack is out now for a super good price on Dharma worldwide. But yeah, okay, that's my last plug. Before my main plugs, which
Are
are
you
the
sure?
Kashmir and Kashmir chain. Sorry, I'm
Plug what you
sorry.
want to plug, man. You've given
Yeah.
us a great show. You can say what you want. I think when you were on the stream last time, you were talking about that sample pack. So it must be something special for you to, you know.
Yeah. Well, that guy is just so. It's like nuts how talented. Like he'll walk around a room full of instruments and pick them up and just start playing them. So I just think he deserves all the attention and respect in the world. And
Absolutely.
I'm really proud that we, did a sound pack with him. Yeah.
It's a beautiful thing to see talent like that, you know.
Yeah.
And then I
I
go
know. It
home and
makes you think
cry.
like
Yeah. Go home and
started
just put my
early.
head on the pillow and just, yeah.
Yeah. Fuck.
So
Yeah, man.
you got 3 plugins out now, and we're gonna
Yeah.
give 3 lucky people all 3 of them. So what I have here
Okay.
is 10 names that were chosen at random for people who were asking questions and being positive in the chat. And what I want you to do,
Okay.
if you don't mind, is give me your favorite 3 numbers between 1 and 10.
Oh, my favorite 3 numbers between 1
Mhm.
and 10?
And those are going to be the 3 people who
Um,
win.
yeah. Okay, 7.
Okay.
Absolutely. My
1, 2,
best Final Fantasy. And
Okay. It's a good.
yeah, and my favorite number is 21 because of Deion Sanders. So let's just go 2 and 1.
2 and 1. I like that. I don't know. People tend to stay away from 1. I don't know what the deal is. Such a great
Yeah.
number.
Yeah, it is. It's good. Can't beat 1. Literally, can't beat it.
All right. Well, I got the
Um,
winners. If you're
Okay.
here and listening, if I call your name, congratulations. And what you want to do is email support@pluginboutique.com with a screenshot of you logged into your YouTube account here, and we will get you sorted with Kashmir's 3 incredible plugins. The winners are Bran Grige, I believe that is GRILJ, Jordan Keats, and DJ Pure Fire. That's a great name.
DJ Pure Fire.
Pure Fire. I feel like there needs to be like an echo on that. Pure Fire, fire, fire.
Pure Fire. Pure
But congratulations.
Saturday.
Yeah. It's great. It's great. Congratulations to the 3 of you. We will post that as the first comment here on the stream. The stream will live as an archive here on YouTube if you want to go back and watch some of the incredible techniques. Obviously, we didn't have a lot of time, so we had to crank through those. But I mean, I'm going to go back and rewatch, especially the white noise portion. But with that, Kashmir, is there anything you want to say before we wrap up?
No, just big thank you to everybody who watched and to everyone who's enjoying the plugins. And if there are new features that you guys want in the plugins, updates you want, just write me or write comments on YouTube. I promise I check all of it. You could even write in the chat, and I'll make sure I go through and check those too. We're trying to make them as great for you as we can. So let me know. All the feedback you can give is appreciated.
Is there a place that's best to do that? Would you say YouTube or maybe Instagram, or what do you think the best place to try to get some feedback to you is?
Yeah, I would say that the YouTube videos or Twitter. My Twitter is probably the least like filled up and congested social media platform. So if people are talking to me on their Twitter or YouTube, because there's only a few YouTube videos about like, let's say if it's Kashmir Reverb, there's like one main one where I do an overview. And if you commented on this, like I'll definitely see it. I will 100% see it.
I mean, it's just wild to think you've got like how many millions of subs. You must be overwhelmed with comments on a YouTube video you post.
Yeah, I mean, somehow I'm able to identify all the ones that are critical of me still.
Oh
without
yeah,
fail.
the two out of the thousands. Yeah.
Yeah,
Same.
and so if you guys have suggestions for the plugin, that falls in the category of criticism, and something in my brain will draw me to you, and I will see it.
What a great skill to have.
Great.
All right, well, I know you've got things to do. You're a busy person, but thanks again for round 2. I'm looking forward to round 3 when the next plugin comes out, or you just want to hang out on stream. We love to have you. It's been fun, and anytime the door is open, my friend.
Thank you so much. Thanks so much for having me, and enjoy your free plugins, guys who won, and Josh, yeah, you're always an amazing guy to do a stream with.
Well, we'll do it again real soon. All right, everybody, I'm Joshua Casper for Plugin Boutique. That's Kashmir. Check him out, and we will see you in the next stream.
See you guys. Take care.
Ragamuffin keeps striving in every way. International, what they call we international. When me ride, I'm in the mood, but the rhythm and I come down, crucial.